Some secrets are worth killing for. In the quiet suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, Romeca Williams discovered something that would cost her everything. She knew what Carlos had done. She had the proof, and she was ready to tell the world. But Carlos wasn't going to let that happen. Romeca Williams was 34 years old, a devoted mother of two, and a respected paralegal at Henderson and Associates law firm in Atlanta. Known for her infectious laugh and unwavering moral compass, Romeca had built a reputation as someone who stood for truth. She volunteered at local shelters, coached her daughter's softball team, and never missed Sunday service. Friends described her as fearless, a woman who would fight for what was right, no matter the cost. Her colleague, Janet Morrison, recalled, Romeca wasn't afraid of powerful people. If she saw injustice, she spoke up. That courage would lead her into the most dangerous situation of her life. Carlos Martinez seemed to have it all. The 42-year-old real estate developer had transformed Atlanta's skyline with his luxury condominiums. His company, Martinez Development Group, was worth over $50 million. He drove a black Mercedes S-Class, owned 3 properties, and was married to Elena Martinez, a prominent pediatric surgeon. They had one son, Miguel, age 12. Carlos was photographed at charity events, interviewed in business magazines, and praised as a pillar of the community. But beneath the polished exterior lurked something sinister, something Romeca was about to uncover. Carlos had carefully constructed his empire on lies, manipulation, and crimes he believed would never see the light of day. Romeca and Carlos's worlds collided in February 2023 when Henderson and Associates represented the Greenfield Community Coalition in a lawsuit against Martinez Development Group. The coalition accused Carlos of environmental violations, illegal dumping, and bribing city officials to fast-track construction permits. Romeca was assigned as the lead paralegal on the case. She dove into the research with her characteristic thoroughness, reviewing thousands of documents, financial records, and correspondence. What she found went far beyond zoning violations. Hidden in the labyrinth of shell companies and offshore accounts were transactions that suggested something much darker: money laundering, fraud, and connections to individuals with disturbing criminal backgrounds. Romeca's instincts told her this was just the surface. On March 15, 2023, Romeca made a discovery that would change everything. While cross-referencing property deeds, she found a foreclosed warehouse in South Atlanta registered under one of Carlos's shell companies, Meridian Holdings LLC. The property had been abandoned for years, but utility records showed recent electrical usage. Curious, Romeca dug deeper and uncovered encrypted emails between Carlos and an associate named Victor Reyes. The emails referenced packages, shipments, and the Georgia route. One message stood out: make sure the warehouse stays off-grid. Can't risk another situation like Miami. Romeca's blood ran cold. She had stumbled onto evidence suggesting Carlos was involved in something illegal, possibly human trafficking or drug smuggling. Romeca faced an impossible choice. She could hand the evidence to her supervising attorney and let the legal system handle it, but that could take months, even years. Or she could go to the police directly, knowing it might jeopardize the civil case and her career. That evening, she confided in her sister, Tanisha. I found something bad, really bad. If I'm right, Carlos is hurting people. Tanisha begged her to be careful, to think of her kids. But Romeca had made up her mind. She photographed every document, downloaded the emails to a secure drive, and prepared a comprehensive report. She planned to meet with FBI agent Marcus Chen on March 22, just 7 days away. What Romeca didn't know was that Carlos had eyes everywhere. His IT consultant, Dmitry Volkov, had installed sophisticated monitoring software on the law firm's network after the lawsuit began. On March 17, Dmitry alerted Carlos that someone had accessed restricted files related to Meridian Holdings. The searches were traced to Romeca Williams's workstation. Carlos's jaw tightened as he reviewed the access logs. She had found the warehouse. She had the emails. And she was still digging. In a recorded phone call later obtained by investigators, Carlos told an unknown associate, "We have a problem. The paralegal knows too much. Handle it quietly." That same night, Romeca noticed a black SUV parked outside her home, watching, waiting. On March 18, Romeca's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop asking questions. Think about your children. Her hands trembled as she read it. Minutes later, an email arrived with no subject line, just a photograph, her daughter leaving school. The message was clear. They knew where her family was. Romeca immediately called Detective Sarah Brennan at Atlanta PD, reporting the threats. Brennan took the report seriously and advised Romeca to vary her routine and consider staying with family. But Romeca refused to back down. "I'm not going to let them intimidate me," she told Brennan. "I have evidence of serious crimes. People might be in danger." She requested police protection, but the department was short-staffed. The days that followed were filled with mounting paranoia. Romeca noticed the same vehicles in different locations. Her home alarm was inexplicably triggered twice. Someone had gone through her car, papers were out of place. She confided in her best friend, Monica Harper. "I feel like I'm being followed everywhere. But I can't stop now. If Carlos gets away with this, who knows how many people suffer." Monica pleaded with her to drop the investigation, but Romeca had come too far. On March 20th, she backed up all her evidence to 3 separate locations: a cloud server, a USB drive she gave to Tanisha, and a physical folder she planned to hand-deliver to Agent Chen. March 21, 2023, began like any other Wednesday. Romeca woke at 6 a.m., made breakfast for her kids, and dropped them at school. She arrived at the law office by 8:30. Her calendar showed a full day of meetings, but her mind was on tomorrow, her scheduled meeting with the FBI. Colleagues later recalled she seemed nervous but determined. At 11:45 a.m., Romeca received a phone call that would seal her fate. The caller identified himself as Agent Martinez, from the FBI, claiming Agent Chen had been reassigned and requesting an immediate meeting. The voice sounded official, urgent. Romeca agreed to meet at a parking garage downtown at 1 p.m. She grabbed her evidence folder and left. Romeca parked on level 3 of the Peachtree Center parking garage at 12:58 p.m. Security footage shows her exiting her Honda Accord, carrying a manila folder in her purse. She walked toward the elevators, checking her phone. At 1:02 p.m., a white panel van pulls into frame. 2 men emerge, their faces obscured by baseball caps and masks. Romeca turns, confused. One man approaches, speaking to her. She backs away, clearly alarmed. She reaches for her phone, but the second man moves behind her. There's a brief struggle. Romeca drops the folder. Documents scatter. She's grabbed and forced toward the van. Her screams echo through the empty garage. At 1:04 p.m., the van speeds away. When Romeca didn't return to the office or pick up her children from school, panic set in. Her sister Tanisha called the law firm at 3:30 p.m. No one had seen her since lunch. By 4 p.m., Tanisha contacted police. Detective Brennan immediately thought of the threats. Officers were dispatched to the parking garage where Romeca's car was found, unlocked, with her purse inside containing her wallet and keys. The scattered documents were recovered, all related to the Martinez case. Security footage was reviewed immediately. The white van had no visible license plates. Romeca Williams had vanished in broad daylight from a public parking garage. An Amber Alert-style urgent missing person bulletin was issued statewide. The FBI joined the investigation within hours after Detective Brennan connected the dots to Romeca's planned meeting with Agent Chen, who confirmed he'd never made any phone call or changed any appointments. The Agent Martinez call was traced to a burner phone purchased with cash in South Atlanta. Investigators obtained warrants for Carlos Martinez's phone records, financial transactions, and surveillance. His alibi was solid. He was in a business meeting with 6 witnesses at the time of the abduction. But investigators weren't convinced. They began surveillance on his known associates, particularly Victor Reyes and Dmitry Volkov. A forensic team searched the Meridian Holdings warehouse. What they found was chilling. Evidence of recent occupancy, restraints, and bloodstains. For 5 agonizing days, law enforcement and volunteers searched frantically for Romeca. Helicopters equipped with thermal imaging scanned wooded areas. Divers checked the Chattahoochee River. K-9 units tracked scents from the parking garage to a vacant lot 3 miles away, where the trail went cold. Romeca's face was everywhere, on news broadcasts, social media, billboards. Tips flooded the hotline, but none led anywhere substantial. Psychics, amateur detectives, and well-meaning citizens called with theories. Tanisha made emotional pleas on television. "Someone knows where my sister is. Please, if you have any information, come forward. Her children need their mother." The community rallied, but as each day passed without answers, hope began to fade. On March 26, at 2:17 a.m., a hunter named Thomas Belmont called 911. He'd been checking his trail cameras in Panola Mountain State Park, about 30 miles southeast of Atlanta, when he noticed disturbed earth near an abandoned logging road. Something made him look closer. Partially concealed by branches and leaves was freshly turned soil. Belmont's hands shook as he called authorities. Police arrived by 3 a.m. with cadaver dogs. At 4:32 a.m., the dogs alerted. Excavation began as dawn broke. At 6:15 a.m., investigators uncovered what they'd feared, a shallow grave containing human remains. Dental records would later confirm the victim's identity, Romeca Williams. She had been shot twice in the back of the head. The autopsy revealed Romeca had died within hours of her abduction. Ballistics showed the bullets came from a 9mm handgun. Soil samples from her clothing matched the warehouse location. Most crucially, forensic teams found DNA evidence under her fingernails. She had fought back. The DNA profile matched Victor Reyes, Carlos's associate. Additionally, phone tower data placed Reyes's cell phone traveling from the parking garage to the burial site on March 21. Dmitry Volkov's computers contained deleted files showing he'd researched the Panola Mountain area days before the abduction. The evidence web was tightening. Federal prosecutors began building a case not just for kidnapping and murder, but also for the underlying crimes Romeca had discovered. On April 3, 2023, coordinated raids occurred across Atlanta. At 5 a.m., FBI agents and SWAT teams arrested Victor Reyes at his Buckhead apartment. He was charged with kidnapping, murder, and conspiracy. Dmitry Volkov was arrested at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport attempting to board a flight to Moscow. He faced charges of conspiracy, accessory to murder, and obstruction of justice. But the biggest arrest came at 6 a.m. when federal agents appeared at Carlos Martinez's mansion. Surrounded by 20 armed officers, Carlos was taken into custody in front of his family. He was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, money laundering, and human trafficking. His empire began crumbling immediately as assets were frozen and properties seized. The trial of Carlos Martinez began on September 12, 2023, and lasted 6 weeks. Prosecutors presented overwhelming evidence: the encrypted emails Romeca discovered, financial records showing payments to Reyes and Volkov, phone records, DNA evidence, and testimony from Dmitry Volkov, who accepted a plea deal to testify against Carlos. Volkov described how Carlos ordered the hit, fearing Romeca would expose his criminal enterprise involving smuggling operations disguised as construction shipments. The defense argued Carlos was a legitimate businessman being framed by disgruntled associates. But the evidence was damning. Romeca's sister Tanisha gave heart-wrenching testimony about the threats and Romeca's determination to expose the truth. On October 28, 2023, after 4 days of deliberation, the jury returned guilty verdicts on all counts. On December 15, 2023, Carlos Martinez was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole for murder conspiracy, plus 60 additional years for racketeering and human trafficking charges. Victor Reyes received 2 life sentences for first-degree murder. Dmitry Volkov received 25 years under his plea agreement. During sentencing, the judge stated, "You silenced a brave woman who stood for justice. You destroyed a family. You will spend the rest of your life behind bars." Romeca's children, now being raised by Tanisha, attended the sentencing. Outside the courthouse, Tanisha told reporters, "Romeca was a hero. She gave her life fighting for what was right. We'll make sure her courage is never forgotten." Romeca Williams paid the ultimate price for seeking truth and justice. Her investigation not only brought down a criminal empire but also exposed systemic corruption in Atlanta's development industry. 14 city officials were subsequently investigated, with 5 facing charges. Romeca's evidence led to the rescue of 11 trafficking victims from various Martinez-controlled locations. The Henderson & Associates law firm established the Romeca Williams Fellowship for paralegals, demonstrating extraordinary courage and ethics. Her story became a rallying cry for whistleblower protections nationwide. As we remember Romeca, we must ask ourselves, how many others have been silenced for knowing too much? If this story moved you, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more true crime stories that honor the victims and seek the truth. Remember Romeca Williams, a mother, a professional, and a hero who wouldn't stay silent.